Hey, how you going? I'm Ryan. This is Ryan's Music Talk, and today I'm going to be ranking the albums of A Day to Remember. And then, like I did with my Metallica video last week, I'll go through my top 10 songs by them as well. Now, I first got into A Day to Remember back in high school from their first two albums, but little did I know then that they would soon go on to basically perfect their blend of metalcore and pop punk to the point that their sound would become one of the more easily recognisable of all of rock and metal in the 2010s. And with that said, let's get into it. Number 7, You're Welcome, their seventh and most recent album, released in March 2021. Now, this one doesn't have that easily recognisable sound that I just mentioned. It's got a lot of songs with a much more pop rock sort of feel, with Mind Raider, Bloodsucker, and Degenerates being examples of that. And I think that might be a big reason why this album does seem to get quite a bit of hate from fans. Even though I've got it in last place, I don't think it's an entirely awful album. I think Last Chance to Dance and Resentment are legit metalcore bangers, even if not really in a recognisable A Day to Remember style. I think Resentment might be the closest we get to that on the whole album, though. I also do actually enjoy the opener, Brick Wall, even if it really does sound nothing like A Day to Remember. Although the outro to the song does annoy me. It feels like it drags on for way too long. But then songs like FYM, High Diving, and Everything We Need are pretty awful, really, and make putting this album last pretty easy decision. Number 6, For Those Who Have Heart, released in January 2007. This was their second album, and from here on, they're all albums that I do really enjoy. My biggest issue with this album is the sixth track, The Price We Pay, just kills any momentum that had been built up over the first half of the album. To me, it feels more like a album closer, but I think personally the whole song should have just been scrapped. I'd say there's definitely more of a metalcore sound to most of the record, although it's not without its pop-punk blend, most prevalent in songs like The Plot to Bomb the Panhandle and Here's to the Past. Then there's also your more post-hardcore sounding bangers like Speak of the Devil and Start the Shooting. Number 5, Bad Vibrations. It's their sixth album, released in September 2016, and it's probably their heaviest album, I'd say, which normally would be enough to elevate it above fifth for me, but I feel like it sacrifices too much of the catchiness that makes A Day to Remember so fun. Although that catchiness is definitely still there on the more post-hardcore pop-punk sounding track Naivety, although it's one of the very few songs we get with much of the pop-punk blend outside of We Got This. Plenty of straight-up metalcore though, with songs like Bad Vibrations, Paranoia, and Reassemble, just to name a few. There's also some rather disappointing songs on here though, in Justified and Same About You. I don't really like either of those. Number 4, And Their Name Was Treason, their debut record, released in May 2005. I have a lot of nostalgia for this album. I discovered it when I was first really starting to get into a lot of post-hardcore and metalcore, and I just really loved how different this sounded, really. It's also pretty amazing how good it actually sounds as well, considering the whole thing was recorded in producer Andrew Wade's bedroom. I'd call it mostly a post-hardcore album with songs like You Should Have Killed Me When You Had the Chance, Casablanca Sucked Anyways, and Your Way with Words Is Through Silence. The metalcore pop-punk blend is there on the song Heartless, with its more metalcore verses and pop-punky choruses. And then there's the pop-punkish acoustic track, You Had Me at Hello, while 1958 is pretty much just straight-up metalcore. Number 3, Common Courtesy, released in October 2013. This was their fifth album, and it's a fucking banger. They'd well and truly perfected that metalcore pop-punk blend by this point in time, with songs like Right Back at It Again, Sometimes You're the Hammer, Sometimes You're the Nail, and The Document Speaks for Itself being probably my favourite examples on this album. There's also some straight up metalcore tracks like Dead and Buried, Life Lessons Learned the Hard Way, and Violence, Enough is Enough, although I'm not really a big fan of that song, to be honest. Then there's End of Me, which is more of a slower, more melodic sort of metalcore track, but I think it works really well. I'm Already Gone, I think, is one of their better acoustic-driven tracks, while the album closes out with I Remember, which is basically just straight-up pop-punk. Number 2, What Separates Me From You, was their fourth album, released in November 2010, and it was pretty close to being my pick for number 1. You get a bit of everything that I want to hear from A Day to Remember on this album. There's the almost trademark metalcore pop-punk blend on the classics All I Want and All Signs Point to Lauderdale, while Sticks and Bricks is much more like Heartless from their debut with the metalcore verses and the pop-punky chorus. We've got some pure pop-punk with It's Complicated. There's some post-hardcore with This Is the House That Doubt Built. And some straight-up metalcore bangers like You Be Tales, I'll Be Sonic, and the pretty heavy Second Sucks. Number 1, Homesick. It's their third album, released in February 2009, and this is where they first really nailed that sound that just dominates these top 3 albums. And it's on display right from the start. The Downfall of Us All instantly shows off that perfect blend and also how well they've grown as songwriters. While I'm Made of Wax, Larry, What Are You Made Of, and NJ Legion Ice-T show it off just as well, if not even better. This is just an album full of great songs, really. There's the more post-hardcore, pop-punky, Have Faith in Me, the magnificent acoustic closer, If It Means a Lot to You. Another song about the weekend is just a fun pop-punk track. And then, of course, there's the metalcore classic, Mr. Highway's Thinking About the End, with the iconic Disrespect Your Surroundings breakdown. So, now it's time to quickly run through my top 10 favourite A Day to Remember songs, which might have actually been harder than ranking the albums, to be honest. Number 10, End of Me from Common Courtesy. Number 9, If It Means a Lot to You from Homesick. Number 8, Your Way with Words is Through Silence from And Their Name Was Treason. Number 7, Naivety from Bad Vibrations. Number 6, Have Faith in Me from Homesick. Number 5, Speak of the Devil from For Those Who Have Heart. Number 4, Casablanca Sucked Anyways from And Their Name Was Treason. Number 3, I'm Made of Wax, Larry, What Are You Made Of from Homesick. Number 2, All I Want from What Separates Me From You. And number 1, Mr. Highway's Thinking About the End from Homesick. So there's my lists. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Drop your lists if you want, or even just your number 1s. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Ryan's Music Talk. And as always, I'll see you next time.